Fumigation with aluminum phosphide requires the right equipment, safety procedures, and process. If you are a farmer planning to fumigate your own grain only, you require a farmer pesticide certificate with the grain fumigation endorsement. Fumigating requires a minimum of 2 people, at least 18 years of age, trained on the safe application of grain fumigants. One is the farmer pesticide certified applicator, and the other a qualified assistant, stationed outside the confined area during the fumigation process, ready to call for help if something goes wrong. Fumigating a grain bin that is attached to a dwelling or animal shelter is strictly prohibited. This is a grain probe. A grain probe is inserted to retrieve samples from well below the surface. Take a sample of grain from the storage area to test. When taking samples from the top of a bin, be sure to wear a safety harness. Place the grain sample onto a fine screen or a light-colored plate and examine it closely. Use a magnifying lens to help you identify any insects or mites. If you discover an infestation, consider the best course of action. Fumigation with aluminum phosphide is only one of the available options. During cold weather, you can ventilate the grain or auger the grain into another storage facility to lower the temperature below freezing. You can dry the grain at temperatures greater than 50 degrees Celsius, or you can use diatomaceous earth or chemical insecticides that are not fumigants. If you opt for fumigation, you will need to calculate the volume of grain that requires treatment in order to purchase the right amount of aluminum phosphide. Before starting, read and understand both the fumigant product label and the document Procedures for Grain Fumigation in Alberta. Fumigating for stored grain pests requires extensive preparation and planning. Applicators must read the label and follow all safety precautions. For example, there are specific equipment requirements for treating the grain and protecting the applicators. Applicators need to plan carefully and ensure they have the right equipment before they begin the fumigation process. Temperature and grain moisture content are important factors to consider. For fumigation to be effective, the temperature must be at or above 5 degrees Celsius and the grain moisture content below 15%. These restrictions are outlined on the product label. The first step in fumigation is to seal the storage area to prevent phosphine gas from escaping. Block all exterior vents and fill all cracks. Use plastic to cover vents and expanding foam to fill cracks. Place warning signs on all the doors and entrances to the storage area that you are fumigating. Note that the signs should say something similar to Fumigation, Danger, this bin is being fumigated with a poisonous gas phosphine. Keep out. Refer to both the product label and the document Procedures for Grain Fumigation in Alberta for detailed instructions. Before beginning fumigation, don proper safety equipment according to the safety instructions on the product label. The label also recommends having available an SCBA with a positive pressure mode for use if it is necessary to re-enter a treated area before aeration is complete. When opening the pesticide container, make sure that the flask is pointing away from you and you are in a well-ventilated, non-flammable area. Spontaneous ignition may occasionally occur when a flask is first opened. In a horizontal storage facility, such as a Quonset, set up the plastic that will be used to seal the surface of the grain and prevent the phosphine gas from escaping. Seal the plastic along the sides and back of the facility. To deliver the aluminum phosphide deep enough into the grain, you will need a probe like this. These probes have been made from PVC pipe. Burrow probes repeatedly into the grain to drop the pellets. Insert the probes approximately 1 meter apart. If you work in a horizontal storage, pull the plastic over the top as you move forward. It is most effective when you start at the back of the grain and move forward towards the front. One of the most effective methods of applying aluminum phosphide to contaminated grain is by using an auger. Aluminum phosphide pellets can be added by hand while operating the auger or through using a dispenser. Once you have finished placing aluminum phosphide in the grain, completely seal the bin to keep the gas in. Lock all points of entry once you are done. It may be necessary to enter an area after it has been fumigated. When this happens, you must wear the prescribed safety equipment. Use a gas detector before you enter and while inside the fumigated area. An area with a reading of less than 0.3 parts per million is considered acceptable for entry by unprotected workers. Phosphine gas has a garlic or fishy smell and is fatal when inhaled. You should take immediate safety precautions if you smell this odor. Symptoms of poisoning include fatigue, ringing in the ears, a pressing sensation in the chest, nausea, or diarrhea. If you suspect phosphine gas poisoning, call an ambulance or the Alberta Poison Control Center at 1-800-332-1414. To complete the fumigation process, you must ventilate the grain. The grain is considered fully ventilated once phosphine gas levels are less than 0.3 parts per million. You can only transport fumigated grain after it has been thoroughly ventilated and no longer poses a health hazard. You should only purchase enough aluminum phosphide for your immediate needs. If you have any unused chemical, seal it tightly in the original container and store in a dry, heated, well-ventilated, and locked area. It is recommended that you report any loss or theft of fumigant.